Alright, the boys, how are we? I
wasn't sure you were going to do it, but I liked it. But I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It's Friday's Talking Reds. I'm here with Ian Ryan. We don't get to do it too often, so I just wanted to do Ian's trademark line of basically what he says every time he comes into the office, and I think we're trying to get it to catch on now.
Yeah, Robbo loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Robbo absolutely loves it.
Do you know he's been saying that, like, you think he's going to stop doing this joke at some stage? He's going to stop saying it to you.
I'm not trying to think
He's
that.
Never going to stop it. When Robbo has a joke, it just continues on.
Robbo's like the Reds. He's never going to stop.
Never going to stop. Here we go for 7 in a row. The Reds have won their first 6 games, and like it's blowing my mind a little bit this Ian, because like A, I can't remember this ever happening. B, I've never felt so not just positive but sure that Liverpool are gonna pick up 3 points. There seems to be this mentality not within the squad, not just within the fan base, but within opponents' heads. Like we did one of the preview shows for the Weekender on Saw Player, and the Southampton fan said he thought it would be 3-0 to Liverpool, and he'd take that now. So do you think this Liverpool side are getting into the minds of the opposition, or in the same way that, like, you know, Man City did last season, in the same way that we've seen Man United teams throughout Alex Ferguson's reign just do that? You just thought they were just going to find a way to win. Do you think Liverpool are doing that, or do you think it's a little bit early to say that?
I think you can make a case for it. I think it's probably a slightly early yet, but I think if you keep putting markers down like you did the other night against PSG, then there's no doubt about it. And I think the points around Southampton, they probably are going to take 2-0, 3-0 right now and just get out and keep the goal difference quite sensible, because, you know, with all the will in the world, you say there, you know, when will this run come to an end? You never want to be overconfident, but you can't see it coming to an end this week, because Southampton don't look to have the tools really that could hurt Liverpool. You know, you think about, you know, they don't really score goals. I mean, Danny Ings, who's probably chipped in with a couple, can't play, for instance. So you do think from a Southampton point of view, how do you get out this Liverpool team? Because at the minute, you've touched on it there, the confidence is oozing out of us as fans, but out of the players as well. And I think the interesting thing would be, you know, does Jurgen maybe tweak it slightly? I probably wouldn't. I think, you know, you look at the Chelsea game coming up midweek, and that says to me that's one there where you could maybe start to make, you know, several changes and rest a few of the big hitters. And then when you do think about when this run could possibly come to an end, you know, we're not far away from some really big games, are we? You know, Chelsea away, you think of the City as well. They're the ones that are going to put us maybe under a little bit more pressure. But even those games, certainly Chelsea away, whilst Chelsea is sitting top of the pile at the minute, I don't think they've really played anyone, and I don't think they've really been that tested, apart from maybe half an hour against Arsenal, who probably should have found themselves, you know, comfortably ahead at one point in that game. I'm not really worried too much about Stamford Bridge. You know, I think it'll pose a different type of question, and it's obviously always a challenge, you know, a night game as well, you know, R5, Saturday night, all that. But at the minute, Craig, we just look so good.
Yeah, we're only looking forward to it, aren't we? We're not worrying about it. It's not one of these where we're looking at Chelsea and thinking, this might be where the run ends. I think that it stems from the positivity. It stems from the way they played in the last 2 games, because the theme in all of the post-match shows that we've done has been this Liverpool team have been winning but haven't clicked into gear yet. And then, you know, I thought they looked, you know, even though you can look at someone like Salah, you can look at even Mane and say, you know, they still weren't reaching their ceiling. They still weren't doing what we'd, you know, what we've come to expect of them over the past sort of 12 months. But, like, you know, I think that when you look at the PSG game and look at how good PSG are, and even Spurs, I suppose, like, look how good a team Spurs are. But, you know, we were imperious, I thought, and you know, we should have put Spurs out of sight. And PSG are just one of those sides. They've got the second best front line in Europe, and they're just one of those sides that if they get given a chance, you know, they're going to score. And I think for us to show that we've got it within us to have, you know, been pegged back from 2-0 down, and then grab the winner, and for people still to be saying, well, no, actually Liverpool deserved that against PSG. They deserved to win that game. I think that says it all about this team. And I think that, you know, we're 2 games into this nightmare run, and it doesn't look as if it's going to stop. And you know, it's almost an intelligent bit of business from Liverpool, I think, in the Danny Ings thing. Like, I wonder if that's on purpose or whether just Southampton didn't have the money to spend, because we know that at the end of the loan deal, Danny Ings has to be bought by Southampton. He gets sold for 18 million or 20 million or something like that. But, like, the fact that he's loaned out means he can't play us twice this season, and really he looks as if he's their only real goal threat at the minute.
Well, when you look at what they've got up front, it's going to be long, isn't it? Probably, and probably just long. I don't see how Southampton go any other way other than just one up front against Liverpool. I mean, they've been playing two up top pretty much all season. Danny Ings, Shane Long. There's no way they're going to go two up top against Liverpool. I just can't see it. So, from their point of view, I said it before. You can't see them. You can't see them getting at this Liverpool team. So I think if we're out with the right mentality, then you only see one result really. You mentioned Spurs. You mentioned PSG there. I think to go and beat Spurs away, we're obviously made up with that. But I think it's not gone under the radar. But I think that's a huge result. I'm not sure it's quite been talked about just in those terms by some of the media I'm talking about, because it was only a week before Spurs were beating United and everyone was talking about how Spurs could go on and be a threat to Man City in this title race, and that's probably not going to be the case. They look like within 2 weeks, obviously they played Watford in between, didn't they, of course, but within a couple of weeks all of a sudden no one's talking about Spurs as being potential challenges to the league title. It's all about Liverpool and Man City. Obviously, football can change really, really quickly. That's an example there. So it's important that we do go out with the right mentality tomorrow. We don't take our foot off. But I sense at the minute that there's a hungry group of players. There's a manager that knows he's got a really, really good chance of doing something so special that he would go down as. I mean, can you imagine the way we think about Klopp now? Can you imagine if he put
There'll be a statue in our office, never mind outside Anfield. If he's able to do what this...
We're carried away, we're getting a bit excited.
But if he's able to do what this team are aiming to do, and what, you heard Virgil van Dijk in the middle of the week, and the way he's talking, there's been far too many times throughout the last decade of supporting Liverpool where we've had to watch a manager talking a defeatist way, Hodgson, or when we're talking, or when players are coming out and talking about our aspirations, it's about getting top four, and it's it's about getting back into the Champions League, and now it's completely different. Now we're looking up here, and that's exactly what this club should be doing. And the ambitions, the ambitions throughout the club, they're all aligning, and that's what it's exciting. It's exciting to hear Virgil van Dijk say that we want to win everything. Trent Alexander saying the things that he said. That's what we want to hear as fans, because we believe that, and they can say, "Oh, you're saying it's your year, this," and look, we're allowed to get excited.
We'll get mocked for that, because that's. But
who cares? Though I don't give
I
don't care.
No one's asked.
I think that was what's massive for me about post PSG is that, we all come out of Kiev and everyone's going, you just went to Kiev and you got beat, and we're all talking about how we had a brilliant time and there's so much positivity, and we're going to take that momentum from that run and we're going to take it into next season in the league and the Champions League, and we have taken it into the league, and it would have been a shame if they if PSG had pegged us back, they'd been finished with a point. PSG would have been happy. We'd have been a bit like, what, it almost, that, not that the momentum would stall, but it just it has that little seed of doubt in your head where it's like, but no, we beat them in the most enjoyable way possible, and we all know that our rivals will have been sat watching that and thinking, fucking Liverpool again. That's
a really important point, though, I think, because if for whatever reason, and obviously it will stop at some point. We're not going to win all 38 games.
Well, you say that. Wilson said here on his agenda might just win forever.
I mean, who knows? I mean,
who's the question in?
But if it does, if it does come to the point where you draw a game or you lose a game, I think it's important not to suddenly lose that momentum, and I think the manager will be reinforced that to the players and say, listen, boys, if it does happen, if we're throwing a curveball and we end up drawing a game, and say it happens tomorrow, we just can't break them down. It's one of those games. That can't take away from what's been an unbelievable start. And I said to, I think it was Robbo in the post-match pint the other day, there could have been a scenario, I suppose, where Liverpool entered this season feeling a little bit sorry for themselves after the way last season ended. It was such a brilliant run, and then to fall at the final hurdle after already missing out on 2 other finals. As a group, sometimes that can play in your mind, can't it? Deflate you. Think, is it ever going to happen for us? But absolute, fair play to the management team, fair play to the players. There's been none of that. It's shrugged off. Maybe the World Cup helps because players can get out the system and go play football. But we didn't have loads and loads of lads at the World Cup, and there's been none of that at all. We've got straight back at it, and there's an aggression about this Liverpool team. You can see there's a hunger, there's a desire. They want to win things, and I think you know, from City's point of view, the challenge is, you know, are they hungry enough to go and do it again? That's the sign of a really good side.
It's a difficult thing to do.
It's so hard to do it in this Premier League area. You don't see it, certainly in recent times, you're not seeing many teams go and retain stuff. So I think it just makes it such an exciting season, doesn't it? Already you're starting to think and you're starting to look ahead and get excited by league games, Champions League games, and there's loads and loads of footy to come. So it's a great time to be a Red.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think one of the most underrated things about whenever your team are playing like this is that, you know, games against Southampton in the past, at times, even at this stage of the season, have felt like a bit of a slog and felt like a bit of not a dead rubber, but it's hard to get yourself up for it, and that's not the case for Liverpool fans at the minute. Your team then, what's your 11? Are you making any changes from the team the other night?
I don't think I am. I think I've toyed with this though. I thought, well, you know, you couldn't blame the manager if he wanted to freshen it up a little bit and maybe make 3, 4, even maybe 5 changes. I wouldn't do that, and I don't think he will either. I think he'll be thinking about the Chelsea game midweek and saying to the boys tomorrow, just give me one more game. I think he will make 1 or 2 changes, so I would expect. I think James Milner might need a rest. You know, he hasn't stopped running. I think for about 6 months, so he might need a little bit of a rest. So maybe he takes Milner out and he puts Naby back in. I think there's a little bit of chat about does Firmino get his first start, but again, I think it might just be Chelsea at home on the Wednesday night, and I think he just keeps everything else pretty much the same. Maybe has a conversation with the front 3 boys. You know, how's Bobby's eye, for instance, and Mane and Salah. I think Salah could probably do with a goal, to be honest.
That's why I think
he plays.
I think he brings Firmino back in, and I think he keeps the other 2 either side of him, just because it feels like the kind of game where, you know, if they might be able to get a couple of goals and that sort of lifts things. I think Salah does need a goal. I think he's toiling a little bit. I
think it's worth pointing out on that I mean, the manager got posed a question about how good the midfield 3 was against PSG, and he said they were brilliant. And obviously, you know, we waxed lyrical about all of them on the, you know, various post-match shows and stuff. But he also said, you know, they can't do that if Mane and Salah aren't offering the work rate that they offered on Wednesday night or Tuesday night, because, you know, sometimes it's hard to recognise that stuff because you're so used to them being a threat in the final third, but actually the work they put in, and I've watched the game back, it is phenomenal stuff. They're absolutely...
When I say toiling, I mean toiling in front of goal. Like, that's the most, you know, one of the most, and I suppose it's one of the best things about this Liverpool front 3 is that even whenever they aren't scoring goals, the way they contribute, whether it's through assists or whether it's just the work rate, to allow the rest of the team to sort of prosper, and that's definitely, I think he goes to front 3. I think Naby Keita should come in. You know, James Milner's been brilliant, and I just think you're right. I think he's 32 years old, and I think if I was Jurgen, I'd be saying that I'm going to give you 10 days without a game here, and then you play at Chelsea.
He could play, he could easily say to him, listen, you're going to play at Chelsea away in the league, and we won't see you till then, so, you know, take a bit of a break. I think, you know, it's one of them though, isn't it? I mean, even if he does make changes in the Chelsea game, there's loads of lads that we're looking forward to watching play, you know, so whether it's Shaqiri or whether it's
killing
Firmino,
me.
then you want it, you know, just Curtis Jones get a go, so there's loads of lads there, you think, well, you know what, I wouldn't mind seeing them play, you know, and seeing, you know, what they're about, because Jurgen's kept pretty much the same team, bar the odd change, and you can see why, because I think, you know, he puts a lot of value in the momentum, and obviously, you know, I think there was always going to be a case of the first, you know, I think he looks at the games in blocks, and I think he felt, well, we'll get through this block using predominantly kind of the same players, but maybe I start to make changes towards that Southampton game, maybe the Chelsea one, but there's no doubt about it. Whichever lads he picks at the minute, there's a feel-good factor around the club, so you can only think that the run continues.
Yeah, it's killing me not seeing the little Shaqiri fella that much, honestly. Like, every time he comes on, I get so excited by him.
Bang into it when he came on the other night.
Did you see him in front of the camera, like come on.
PSG were hitting him with, like, all kinds of shite, weren't they, from the... When he was taking the corner, they were throwing stuff at them, and they were a bit weird,
and
weren't they? It looked like a load of Newcastle fans had, like, invaded their end. It was like loads of naked PSG fans. It was like...
And the little Shaqiri fella just wasn't bothered by it all. He's like, you know, keep throwing, lads, and I'm going to put a belter ball in here. If you want more on Southampton, we've got the preview show on our YouTube channel. Here's a little clip from it now.
People forget, we've talked about this with Steve Warner, people forget for some reason the footballers are human. Yeah. And they've all got their WhatsApp groups going on in the same way we have, and they're all doing the same thing. There's no way they're not going to each other.
We shite lads.
Oh God, what was that then? Brightness shit, blah, blah, blah. And now we're going to play Liverpool. What will that be like? Oh, we'll just see if we can get out of there, to be honest. There's no way in a million years their players are nothing, especially as you say. I'd forgotten Ings can't play.
Yeah.
So even that, it's like, well, we can't score goals. There's a lad now who scores goals. Great. Is he playing? No.
No.
Okay. Who are we playing? Well, this side. What have they done? 6 on the bounce, done Spurs away, just beat PSG. They'll have all watched that. Yeah. There's no way they're not watching that game. And it all sinks in. I was chatting to someone about Thomas Tuchel this morning. Even at that level, if you saw his post-match interviews after PSG, he was saying it jokingly, but he basically said, oh, God, this has happened to me before. Next time a team comes here, they're probably best not bringing me. And I thought,
did he say that?
Fantastic. If he ever has to come to Anfield again, we should be getting messages to all his players saying, even your boss doesn't think you're going to win. You're going to lose in the last minute. Yeah. And it's the same with any of this. It sinks in just slowly over time.
Yeah, that was a clip from our preview show. As well, on Saw Player, we have the Team Talk show, which we're actually about to do now. It'll be out by the time this video is out, I think, and it looks at Jurgen Klopp's press conference, also previews a bit of a game. We've got the Weekender as well, which sounds like loads of fun. Have a look at it. It'll be previewing the game. There's also little inserts from what's happening around Liverpool. So yeah, get on that. Both of them on Saw Player, and then obviously the post-match show on Saw Player after the game tomorrow. There's been some quotes from Oxlade-Chamberlain, which is exciting and a little bit saddening, really. Like I feel like we all grew to love him, and then he's sort of missing out on all of this. And it also, it shows as well, like the strength in this midfield at the moment. That a player who was pivotal in like the second half, and certainly in the Champions League knockout stages of last season. That like, not that we've forgotten about him, but like, our midfield is just looking so good at the minute that it's all, no one's calling for we're missing Oxlade-Chamberlain, and I feel bad for him. But there's some positives. He said, I passed the ball the other day, not very well, but I started passing the ball, and that was massive for me to be able to get a kick and know that my knee can still kick a ball. Even though it was only 5 yards, I started working on stuff like that, and it's little wins like that that keep you going, keep you pushing forward to the next one. So I think.
We miss him,
Yeah,
we still. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been some tremendous midfield displays so far by several players. But I remember when it happened, and I remember the Roma game and people being gutted about kind of conceding goals late on. But I walked away thinking I'm gutted for him because it looked such a serious one. You're thinking, when do you see him again? Yeah. And my only concern with him would be, I just hope he comes back the same player, because from what I've read on the injury, and by no means any kind of medical expert, but from what I've read, it sounds like a really bad one. Yeah. And I just really hope he comes back somewhere close to the player he was before he got injured, because he was, no doubt, mate, you said it there, he was looking brilliant.
Yeah, I think you're right. The way he broke lines, the way he sort of drove the ball forward, he was doing all of the things that like Arsenal fans didn't tell us that he did. Arsenal fans told us that he was hot and cold, and he was he struggled for fitness and everything. He turned out just to be an absolute belter for us last season. So we all miss him, but it's also good that like we're watching this midfield and we're seeing two lads from last season who were kind of written off going into this new season. When you think about like the fact we'd signed Firmino for such high money, we'd signed Naby Keita, and we'd waited so long for him. To see then someone like Wijnaldum, Milner just look so good in there. The debate around whether Henderson should be in there or not, and then obviously Fabinho's still to come, and Naby Keita is still to, you showed little glimpses of what he's going to do in his Liverpool career, but we've got all of that to look forward to, the best of him to look forward to. A little bit on Bobby, 12 goals in the Champions League for Liverpool. He's level with Dirk. It is unreal. He's level with Dirk Kuyt, and only Gerrard has scored more in the Champions League. So where do you think he ranks in terms of Liverpool's modern forwards?
You know what, I think...
In fact, I'll rephrase the question. Who would you swap? Because I've been thinking about this, and I don't know. There's always, Suarez feels like the easy one, and I absolutely loved Fernando Torres.
What about Peak Torres? Peak Torres.
He's the player that I've loved more than any, but then broke my heart. But I still think I wouldn't swap Peak Torres for this Bobby Firmino, and that feels mad, but I just feel like
I feel like with this question.
I've sprung it on you. I just think that the way he's just pivotal, and he's the cog in the machine, and he pulls it all together. And you hear of Mane in interviews and Salah and how important he is, and I just think that for Jurgen Klopp's team, I don't think I would swap him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Jurgen Klopp would say. I mean, obviously, he's going to say Bobby, but if he got him in a kind of quiet room and just said, listen, no one will ever find out. No one will ever find out. Who would you rather have? But I don't know. I mean, for me, Suarez was just one of the greatest footballers that I've ever seen pull on a red shirt, and that doesn't necessarily mean he goes down as a legend because he probably wasn't here long enough. But in terms of pure ability, I don't think I've seen a better footballer than Luis Suarez, and he can probably do everything. You know what I mean? In terms of what you're looking for from a footballer, he can, from a work rate point of view, he's got it. From a goals point of view, he's got it. Assists, absolutely. I think Luis Suarez is one of the best players I've ever watched. I think maybe he's the only one. I mean, Torres is a phenomenal footballer. I think sometimes what happens, you forget just how good some of these footballers are, and we did that, or Gibbo did moments in time thing, and you suddenly think about Michael Owen. I'm not comparing Michael Owen for 1 second to the lads I've mentioned, but you do forget just how good he was at the time. There was a period of time where he was one of the best forwards in Europe and stuff, and different kind of player because he wouldn't offer you the same kind of things Bobby does, but still a brilliant finisher. And I think Fernando Torres, some of the goals he scored, Craig, were just out of this world.
Arsenal in the Champions League.
Suarez, the same. So we've been fortunate enough to have been spoiled, and I was kind of, even though I was young, I did get to see, Rushy and stuff towards the latter end of his career and stuff, and again, a phenomenal forward and stuff who could do pretty much most things that you'd want from a centre forward. So I don't know, really, really tough one, but I think if you look at the Premier League, there's not really anyone, is there? You'd think, I'd rather have him than Bobby because, from what Jurgen Klopp wants,
I wouldn't swap any of them.
You wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't, and I don't think Jurgen Klopp would either, because from what he wants from a centre forward, I think Bobby Firmino gives him that, and I'm not sure any other centre forward in the league could even come close, to be honest. And when you think of the other top ones, someone like Sergio Aguero, whilst he's a fabulous player, you're not getting the same things from him as you are from Firmino.
He has 12 goals in the Champions League for Liverpool. That's after 1 season in the Champions League and 1 game in the Champions League from this season. And when you look at Michael Owen, he scored 9 in the Champions League. Torres only gets 8. And some of the the teams that those two were playing, and I think that just shows what this what these players are doing, and what this manager is able to get out of these players is just unbelievable. And I really hope that over the next few years we see this Liverpool team win everything that they look destined to, because it'd be a great shame, and if they didn't 10, 15 years down the line, we'd all still be talking about how good and how enjoyable it's been to watch this team. So enjoy it while we've got it, and yeah, we've had to watch too much shite over the past decade not to. But yeah, that's been today's Talking Reds. You've got just one more thing. We are doing a live show.
It's like Columbo there, mate, wasn't it? Touch the old Columbos at the end there. Love it. What a way to finish.
We've got a live show in Liverpool. It's on air in Kane's Brewery, and it'll be before the Liverpool-Cardiff game. Tickets are out for that now. You can get them at theanfieldwrap.com/tall-live. Doing this all off the top of my head here, I'm even impressed with myself.
Fabulous stuff.
And it's before the Liverpool-Cardiff game. It's on the 27th of October. So if you're in Liverpool, you're going to the game, come on. We'll be doing all of the usual Anfield Wrap antics, live show, talking about the game, getting excited about the season, and we'll have some live music as well. So yeah, get on that, and then obviously all of our preview shows ahead of Southampton, and the post-match show, and the post-match pint. Post-match pint will be here on YouTube. That's all of the sales. This is what happens whenever you get the marketing lad to do Talking Reds.
Absolutely.
Saws about me. Enjoy the match tomorrow. Hopefully 7-0.